Dublin, a modern, vibrant city. A city of more than 1 million people. A city of culture. A city of change. As Luke Kelly sang, the grey, unyielding concrete makes a city of my town. But our city is changing again. The concrete making way for high-speed fibre optics connecting us to a worldwide hub. But what about our past? Our traditions? How do they survive in a city that is constantly changing? Who are the people that keep these traditions alive? Why did they do it? In this series, we will focus on the traditional champions of Dublin. Those who, despite all the changes in modern life, still want to hold true to their tradition, keeping our history alive. Welcome to The Last of Us.
Hi, I'm Mary Harkin and I'm the owner of Rorys Fish and Tackle in Temple Bar in the heart of Dublin City. We're here 55 years, we're established in 1959, so we're going strong ever since. So the shop set up with my father here, Rory.
Well, I say we started back there in 1959, getting established when we opened on the 21st of February 1960, and we're going ever since. That time we were down in Temple Bar, we were the only retail area in it, and it's still more or less still the same. That time was only factories and there was no shops. So my father said, he was an engineer here in the ESP, and he said it's an ideal opportunity. He says you're only 150 yards from O'Connell Bridge. So eventually one thing led to another. It was hard work in the early days, really working around the clock, but eventually it clicked in and we're there ever since.
I worked here as a kid during my school holidays. My first job was packing maggots, the excitement of it all, and that's what I used to do all day, every day. And then over the years it just gradually started to serve customers. Like my father, I've been fishing since I could walk, so every time I was nagging, when are we going fishing, had my mother killed trying to tie flies at home with bits of hooks and feathers, and then I could get my hands on. No fish are easy, and the day you think you have it mastered is the day you should give up, because every day is a different challenge.
We have a great cross section of customers. Like, we have them come all over Europe, all over the world practically. And we have our own local trade here, which look after us, what they call it, sea anglers, pike anglers, coarse anglers, fly anglers, salmon anglers. So there's a huge variety. And it's amazing here to come in here now when the shop be busy and everyone talks about it and swap their yarn and have a great comradeship, you know. You say you come in here on a busy day here and everyone's talking, they're all chatting about a different type of fish and they all help one another out, you know.
Alright, well these are all various types of flies, there's also a small selection. A lot of these are all wet flies. A lot of the flies will imitate insects and flies, and then some of them are just gaudy things but just happen to work. It's rye flies for the lake, we have these ones. These are what you call a spent mayfly. That's when the mayfly hatches and you know, after 3 or 4 days they eventually mate and they lay their eggs, and that's what that's representing. That's a male mayfly. And then the female one, this is like before, in the earlier stages when they hatch out, they're usually that light yellow colour, and we fish them as dry flies, so they'll actually float on the surface like that, and hopefully then the trout will just come up and wolf it down. So anyway, this is the handle of the rod, and then the reel just goes in here, and we just screw this on. So just tighten it up. Then the line on this is a floating line. There's different types of lines you can get, but floating is your sort of best all-round line. And then we're just going to thread this up. So it just means that when you're fishing that the fly will be on the surface. If you're using wet flies or whatever, we can still use floating lines. But sometimes then, if the conditions are not right, we'll use a sinking line. Just if, say, it was a really bright day and there's no wind and there's nothing happening on the surface, we'll use a sinking line, and that just means that the flies will actually get down closer to where the fish might be staying on the bottom. So basically this just gets tread up through all the eyes.
Fishing community is fantastic. Like, everybody helps everybody, and like, out there in the boat, even though you might be in a competition, whoever's fishing the boat is looking for his place, and he'll still swap flies. If he's catching fish on the flies, he'll give you the flies he's using too. So they all help one another. Well, getting too old from now, that's basically it. So I don't fish many competitions. But I used to, I won a fair few competitions at the time. One big Loch Con was probably my most successful. I was very fortunate. I captained the winning Irish team in 1974. So, and now I think that was the first time Ireland had won the international homes for 30 years. So it was a great achievement. And that was one of my highlights. And I say, winning the big competition in Loch Con 15 years later, that's probably one of the biggest competitions you ever won, you know. But then you have to have a certain amount of luck with you in the day to be in the right place, and that's what it's all about, you know.
I think it's all got to do with the personal touch and just being able to come into a shop, touch your stuff. You know, you can play with all the reels. You know, they all feel different. Some are smoother than others. There's more bearings in them, and you have that opportunity. And then you get advice from the people that are selling them, from the professionals, basically. Well, I think we've had to move with the times a lot. You know, the fishing. It's like fashion, like clothing as well. It changes. Some stuff comes into fashion, so it's important to keep up with the latest product that's out there. And just, you know, times, you know, with recessions and that, people don't have the same amount of money. He's famous. Everyone knows Rory.
Famous, nearly famous.
Every dog in the street knows him. But even we got a postcard from Australia once, and it was just addressed Rorys, and it came to us that even knew it was in Ireland, didn't have anything else on it. So how mad is that?
In our magazine now here a few years ago back actually, and we were celebrating our 50 years in business. That's the early days there when the shop. When you opened one of the first customers you ever had in the shop, we had a picture of it there. My late father there, and that was a competition in Loughenn, and he won it and I was second, and that's Superintendent Nally. And this is my late wife here, Miriam, and myself in the early days, fishing Lough Sheelin. That's a hard one to answer. There's so many highlights. What would you think, Mary, highlights?
Yeah, there's not one thing. I mean, it's nice to have over the years the people and the friends you've met over the years, just from customers coming in, and that's been kind of nice. That's probably the nicest thing for me. It's nice that we've had some famous people come in as well, because it just gives obviously the shop a bit more recognition, which also helps. And it's nice to have a traditional shop as well, because I think it's important that it keeps the identity of the city to have traditional style shops, because one of the problems, you get a lot of these chain stores and coffee shops that you see in America and worldwide, and it's just like going to any city. You could be in London, Paris, New York, and sadly, part of Dublin is losing that sort of uniqueness. It's a bit of an institution. Even people that don't fish, the amount of people you hear going by the door are tourist operators bringing walking tourists in. That's the famous Rory's Fish and Tackle shop. It's the oldest shop. It's been here for years. So as long as I can keep going, it'll keep going.